just a quick little review. Hopefully you finished watching the polyatomic ion talk. But here are the polyatomic ions, and just to make sure that a couple more of them that you have down. Just remember that, for example, with the acetate, it might help to write the word acetate, and then you get a 2, a 3, and a 2. Permanganate, most people will be fine with the formula for it, but then there's one man for the charge. That makes it a lot easier. Thiocyanate, the thio group is actually a sulfur. So, for example, with methane gas, which is natural gas, they add the smell to it, that sulfur smell, and they call it ethane thiol. So that's the thio group. So it's SCN is what thiocyanate is. And then keep in mind that it's 8, not I. Okay, and then Nick the Camel ate a clam supper, and Phoenix might be really helpful also. So remember, the consonants are the number of oxygens, and the vowel is the charge. And ammonium, no hope for everybody. For what? Amor. Good. Okay, so it's NH4 plus. Remembering that. And then also just keep in mind that on the periodic table, phosphorus, so phosphate and phosphite have the -3 charge, just like phosphide does. Sulfate and sulfite are -2, just like sulfide is. It also works for, with the -1s, all of the chlors. So the hypochlorite, chlorite, chlorate, and perchlorate all are -1. And then the other part of the quiz, so you're going to have the polyatomic ion part of the quiz. The second part of the quiz is the ternary compounds. So we're going to review naming ternary compounds real quick here too. Okay, so what we're going to do is, if you can please all pull out your naming acids worksheet. What we're going to do is just a quick, just to make sure that you're okay with naming acids for after the quiz. Remember, naming acids are not on this quiz. But keep in mind that acids are compounds that release what, everybody? They give off what type of hydrogen? Awesome. And so you can see that a really easy thing to do is, because these are all acids, then you're going to put H's in front of every single one of these. Okay? On the other side, if it starts with an H, then you are going to name it as something acid. And so you can do that before you even started any of this. So if you want to write this down, this might help you also. I ate something ick, and at night I felt nauseous. Okay, that might help you in remembering that the ate goes with ick and ite goes with us. Or you can use what I had told you, which is this one right here. And everybody say it with me. High Titus in the Adic. High Titus in the Adic. Okay? Up to you which one you want to use. You might hear people say that maybe in the future or whatever from other schools. They may use something like that. So this is, if it's hydro, if it's an ide, then it's going to start with hydro. That's the only time that it's going to start with the hydro. If it's an ite, you change the ending to us. If it's an ate, you change the ending to ick. Okay? And no hydro in those. So for example, let's do the top two right here. So NO3, before you take your polyatomic ion quiz, we know what NO3 is. It's nitrate. Good. So you can write it down if you want to, just so that you have it, so that you're seeing the 8 in there. So that's nitrate. So you would come up here and you would say 8 changes to ick. So what would you call this? Nitric acid. Awesome. Nitric acid. Okay. So that if this is NO2, then NO2 is called nitrite. So that ite changes to us. So that would be nitrous. Awesome. So if you come back here, now if you're going backwards, you're going to change the ending. So what does the us ending change back to? Us changes to ite. Good. So us changes to ite. And so if I have chlorite, what is chlorite? Do you remember what chlorite is now?
ClO2.
Perfect. ClO2. So it's HClO2. What charge? -1. And then you would crisscross. If it's a -2, then you'd put a 2 after the H. Okay. And then keep in mind that if you have hydro, the only time you have hydro is if there's only the anion. The non-metal anion is an element, not a polyatomic ion. So for example, if you see something like 13?
17.
Oh, 17, good. Or like this one right here, it's just H with I. What would you call this one? Hydroiodic Acid. Nice. Perfect. Okay, so let's flip. Here's our review for the quiz now. Okay, so we're going to do numbers 1, 2, 3 together, and then we're going to come down and do 19 and 20. Okay? So just as a quick review, because again, you'll have your polyatomic ion quiz, you'll turn that in, and then you're going to get the ternary naming quiz from me right after. Okay, so let's name this one. So RB is? Rubidium. And then what you want to do is you want to check rubidium and make sure on the periodic table that it has a fixed charge. Because if it has a fixed charge, then what do you not need? No Roman numeral. Awesome. So rubidium says just the 1. So all I'm going to do is write rubidium, and what is NO3? Nitrate. Awesome. Because it has a fixed charge, you're done. Okay? Then here we have Cr, which is chromium. And what's OH? Hydroxide. Nice. The question is, do I need a Roman numeral? Yes. So you go to the periodic table and you check chromium's charges, and it's 236. Perfect. So I need to do a plus chart. So here's my plus chart. Remember, if your polyatomic ion is not in a bag, put it in a bag. Put it in a bag, okay? So this one is already. So I'm going to write my charges. It was 236. So 236. And hydroxide is what charge? -1. Remember, what you do is you multiply there. So you get a -6, which means this side is a +6. So then the charge of my chromium is 6. Remember, 6 is Vi. Okay, Vi for 6. Okay, let's try this one. So Fe is iron. And what's CO3? Carbonates. Nice. Do we need a Roman numeral for iron? Yes. So again, we're going to put this in. Let me just change colors here so that it's not overlapping on this. Okay, and what are iron's charges? 2, 3, and 6. And carbonate, I'm going to put in a bag. If you don't put it in a bag, you can get the wrong answer, and I'll show you why in a second. What's carbonate's charge? In a car, it's better to have 2 people, so -2. It's not -2 times 3. It's not -6. It's just -2. If you don't put the bag in, then you can make that mistake of multiplying the 2 times the 3. So it's actually -2 times 1. So this side's a +2. So then my charge would be 2. Okay, then let's come down to the bottom here. And let's look at 19 and 20. Okay, so this says gold 1 cyanide. So what's gold? Au. And they're telling you that the charge is a 1. So that's what goes on top. Cyanide is Cn, capital C, capital N, with a -1. Do you need parentheses? No. And actually, on WebAssign, which I just posted, if you put the parentheses in, it'll mark it wrong. So if there's only 1, so if you're crisscrossing a 1 down there, then just get rid of your parentheses, okay? I don't mind on the quiz, but for WebAssign, just make sure that you erase it only if there's a 1 there. So if that's a 2 or a 3 or a 4 or a 6, you're going to cross that down and leave your parentheses, okay? Let's try this one then. Aluminum oxalate. So aluminum's charge is what? They're not giving it to us because it's fixed. So if you take a look at aluminum, what's the charge of that? 3? Good, 3. Sorry, 3. And then oxalate. What is oxalate? C2O4 -2. Good. So that's the cow ox one. And now what do I do? Crisscross. Awesome. Crisscross, applesauce, lose the charge, reduce. Good. And in this case, it's already reduced. You can erase your charges. You don't have to keep your charges in there. Okay? You can erase your charges when you're done. Good? Pretty good. Any questions about this?